Congratulations, you just had a child. Doctor said everything went well. You're happy, family's happy, everyone's happy. Shortly after the birth of your child undergoes some routine testing called newborn screening. It's really just to see if there's any further complications that you should be aware of. From the testing, it's discovered that your child has a condition called tyrosinemia. Simply put, your child can't break down protein, which means your child could have some serious health complications due to the nutrition that your child will be lacking for the rest of their life. But don't worry, there are steps and medications that your child can take to live a long and healthy life. This medication can cost you $20,000 a year. And there's a very high chance that insurance will not cover it. That child I've been referencing is me. I have tyrosinemia type 3, which is a rare form of tyrosinemia. But I consider myself very fortunate because I was treated right after I was born. So I avoided the serious health complications that can come from having tyrosinemia, such as mental disabilities, organ failure, seizures, and more. To avoid future complications, all I have to do is follow a low-protein diet and take my medication daily. My medication falls under the category of what they call medical food. This medical food comes in the form of powder. I mix it in with water to become kind of like a shake. And I drink this daily to get the nutrients that I'm missing out from having a low-protein diet. I also consider myself very fortunate because 26 years ago, my parents fought with their insurance company and my dad's employer, Texas Instruments, to get this medication covered. They went through multiple appeals, but they got it done. After I graduated from KU, I ended up getting a job at Texas Instruments, so perfect. I didn't have to fight with them to get that medication covered. 3.5 years later, my wife and I decided to move back to the Kansas City area. I contacted the prospective employers and their insurance companies to see if this medication will be covered. The insurance company said, yes, don't worry, it'll be covered. But if for the off chance it's not, just go through some appeals. The same appeal process my parents went through, give them some documentation proof of what I need, and they'll cover it. Sweet, whatever information they need, I'll give it to them. Flash forward a few months later, we're all set in our jobs. Great to be back in Kansas City. The insurance company comes back and says, wait, we're not going to cover the medication. We appeal that decision, give them the documentation, appeal is denied. But wait, there's one thing I can do, says the insurance company, to get this medication covered. You can get a feeding tube. Now let's step back for a second. The insurance company is saying that if I undergo an invasive surgery, if doctors cut open my stomach, if they insert a tube, if I deal with the eventual complications and costs that come from having a feeding tube, instead of taking my medication orally like I normally would, to have the medication fed through a tube connected to my stomach, then insurance will cover it? That doesn't seem right to me. This, unfortunately, is not an uncommon problem for the families that have to have medical food to live. And these could be families that have conditions such as Crohn's disease, liver disease, inborn errors in metabolism, like tyrosinemia, and more. And this medical food can cost them anywhere between $1,000 to even $30,000 a year. And while there are some public and some insurance companies and some assistance programs that can cover it, a good chunk of the time, it all depends on if you're at a certain poverty level. But what if you're not really in poverty per se, but you're not rich enough to fork out $1,000 or $10,000 a year? A lot of families fall through the cracks that way. To my surprise, I found out that our people trying to address this problem. There is a bipartisan bill in the House of Representatives called the Medical Equity Act, also known as H.R. 2501. What this bill does, it expands upon previous legislation that was enacted in 2016. In 2016, they said, if you're a military family and you're enrolled in an insurance program called TRICARE, and you need medical food, they'll cover the medication. Great. So what this current bill is trying to do is expand upon that and say public insurance, private insurance, doesn't matter. We're going to cover medical food. Currently, there are only 47 co-sponsors for this bill. While, to give you some reference, it's not a whole lot. A lot of bills that get some co-sponsorship that moves through to become a bill can be around 100 or so. But this bill was only introduced in May, so 47 co-sponsors for only a few months, not too shabby. When I was looking into this bill, I saw that there are no representatives and no co-sponsors from the state of Kansas or the state of Missouri. Well, I don't fault them for this because a lot of things go on in government, a lot of bills going around. They probably just aren't aware of what this bill could do and how it could help people. Now, how do representatives find out about bills? Well, their constituents contact them. So I urge you to please contact your representatives for them to co-sponsor this bipartisan bill, the Medical Equity Act, H.R. 2501. Now, if you don't know who your representative is, I can tell you that if you're from this area on the Kansas side, you're most likely represented by Sharice Davis, and she's a great individual. I actually met with her yesterday to urge her to co-sponsor this bill. So, if you can contact the representatives, you can find friends and family members, regardless if they're in Kansas, to contact the representatives. That'd be great. Because I know this won't be an easy, short process. And I know I'm just one person, but I could definitely use all the help I can get. Thank you.